Hey y'all, you're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor,
and Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
What's poppin', y'all? Welcome to a very special episode of Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies. We are live at our alma mater, North Carolina A&T. Right? And so you hear it. We have a live audience of the counseling department here, master's level students, and they are serving as our live audience today. Dr. B and I both attended North Carolina A&T for undergrad and for our master's degrees. So we're like double Aggies. It's extra special to us. So I'm super excited about today. And we also have a very special guest. And so I will hand it over to Dr. B to introduce our guest.
All right. So we have our wonderful guest, Mr. J. Alphonse Nicholson. And he is... Oh, I need to get that. Yes, the sound for the switchboard. We are going to have him for a brief moment here because we do have a short time with like a hard stop.
Okay.
At 4.
Oh,
well,
Lord.
his time, not our time.
What time is that here?
7. Okay. All right. So we got...
I'm sorry. I wish I could have stayed the full hour. I'm sorry.
We didn't introduce you yet. Wait.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Alphonse, you have an amazing like record and spreadsheet of the work that you've done. Of course, you're known for your work in P-Valley as your role as Lil Murder. Lil Murder.
Thank you. Get it right.
Murder. Okay, sorry with the little hard R. And your other roles such as Clipped, Albany Road, Wake, Fright, Just Mercy, Self-Made, and many, many others. Thank you for being here with us and welcome.
Man, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm sorry that the time ended up getting cut short a little bit. That wasn't the plan, but yeah, glad to be here. Glad to be, in the room, technically, with y'all to a certain extent. Shout out to the students that's in the room too, for coming out on Tuesday. There y'all go. What's up? I see y'all. How y'all doing? Nice to meet y'all. I appreciate y'all coming out on a Tuesday night. Y'all in my city. I'm from that city, so it means the world to me to be sharing space with you right now.
Yes. Thank you so much. And I do also want to highlight the fact that you are like a phenomenal actor in the range and the depth in which you are the roles that you're playing. So just before we get started, was there anything that you wanted to share with us that you're working on that's coming up that you want us to be aware of and keep an eye out for you?
Oh man, it's multiple projects. I've been blessed to be able to work consistently over these past 18 years now. There's always ups and downs, but there's a P-Valley season 3 coming out. Yeah. I have a couple films coming out. I'm working on a new series right now at HBO called Lanterns, which is really dope. Can't wait for y'all to hear and see more about that. And then, it's a plethora of things that's streaming right now that you can check out on Netflix, whether it's They Clone Tyrone, Self-Made, Albany Road is streaming somewhere. If you want to hop over to my IMDb and be like, I haven't seen him in that, let me check him out, see what he has going on. But a lot of new stuff coming out that I'm really excited about.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and I mean, seriously, you've been a busy man.
Blessed.
He's a working actor.
Yes, right.
Just blessed to be able to take care of the family and do what I love to do, and consistently. I know it's a privilege. A lot of the industry is going through a really interesting time right now. So if you do have a job and you work and you're able to find yourself in a consistent space, it's a blessing for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. So I am very excited to get into some of these characters and diagnose them and kind of also get your opinion and kind of your motivations when you were playing some of these roles as well, especially with June being Men's Mental Health Month. I am really excited to get into all of these different characters and talk mental health about them. And so where would you like to start, Dr. B?
I think we should do our usual, like, should we do our quotes? Should we start with
Well, I was
quotes?
going to do each quote for each character. So we do characters and then I came prepared, girl. We got company. I'm showing out. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, where you want to start, girl?
Okay. So we can start with at first the one that made me mad the most.
Okay.
Okay.
Which one was that?
Sir, Albany Road, this damn Kyle, until you gave the reasons of why you didn't say nothing, I wanted to karate chop you in the throat. Talk about she's the old you. She's the new you or the old you before my mom got to her. I was like, sir, you don't say that to no woman. You don't tell no woman that this woman here is the old version of her. Now she need to be the only one. But I really appreciate it. So I was very mad at you as Kyle for a very long time until we got to the end of the movie and you kind of gave a lot more of the reasons why. And it made a lot of sense. You were making a lot of decisions as a man that you felt were beneficial for the relationship, but also because you was a little scared that she was going to choose her career over you as well. But you also wanted her to kind of make sure that she did prioritize herself in her career. And so, yeah, but she's the old you before my mom got to her. I wanted to karate chop in the throat. But if Kyle was my client and I got over the karate chopping because it's very unethical to karate chop your clients in the throat, make sure that none of you guys do that. I definitely would have diagnosed him with phase of life problem because there wasn't necessarily anything that he was going through that was out of proportion to the circumstances at hand. And so his father had died. He didn't know that his mother had cancer, but then she eventually dies from cancer. And he had this big old heartbreak from Celeste. And so definitely would want to get into some of the family enmeshment that he has experienced through his life with his mom being all up in his business and some couples counseling with the relationship between him and Celeste going forward and just what that looks like with both of them no longer having either of their parents. And then also just his bereavement. What say you, Dr. B?
I agree. And along with some of the other roles that you've played, it feels like a lot of them kind of have a theme and a pattern. And I mention that because a lot of them are dealing with racial identity, burden, and existential struggle. And so I wanted to kind of talk to you a little bit about like managing some of those roles, because even with fright is like you're having to go through several
freight,
different...
like the train, like freight, like the train.
Freight, not fright. Baby can't read.
No, it's all good. It's to this the American language, man. Y'all know how it is, American English. But freight, no. And Courtney, you broke that down with Albany Road too.
Trying. But I also just wanted to see there were a lot of roles where either it was almost hard to diagnose because you were dealing with so much life circumstances in the roles that you played. And so there's a lot of themes. Either you're the bully or you unproblematic.
Bro, and so the bully. I just want to ask you that too.
So to both of your points, and I can tell y'all are doctors because y'all was breaking that down. I was trying to keep up with it. Kyle, so to give some context for people in the audience who haven't seen Albany Road, it's a great film by Christine Swanson, written and directed by a Black woman that we end up shooting during the strike. So it's hard to, make that happen. But we made it happen out in Champaign, Illinois. It ain't nothing out there in Champaign, Illinois, by the way. But so to give you some context, Albany Road is about these two women who end up on a road trip together, one being my mother and one being my ex-girlfriend. They come to my aunt's house, and when they get to my aunt's house, I'm there with my new girlfriend. So as you can imagine, that causes...
Don't just say girlfriend, sir.
Right, fiance. Let me say that, fiance. So you can imagine that causes a lot of issues. So Courtney, I was trying to keep up with what you're saying, but it does seem like he was suffering like a phase, a life phase. And he was going through something that I feel like he can get through, with some therapy for sure, as a going going on 35-year-old man who started doing therapy, 4 years ago with my wife. It was something I could resonate with Kyle. I can realize, okay, he needs some therapy. He going through some things. He's taking this anger out on people who doesn't deserve to be taken out of. That line you talking about. When I read the line, I was like, damn, he's saying that to his to the older ex. She the old you. That's crazy. That's wild. Something but I didn't write it. It's not my script, but I think for entertainment purposes, it did what it needed to do. And then there's a through line with my characters where I think people they understand like, hey, J. Alphonse, man, he can bring the emotion, he can bring the pain, he can bring I guess the gangster, for a lack of a better word, and for me, that's just because I happen to understand that lifestyle in a way that I'm grateful for. And the side of town I grew up on, y'all over there right now, the east side of Greensboro, south side of Greensboro, especially in the 90s, through the 2000s, was a beautiful place that was so cultured and offered a lot of experiences. And so to be able to pull from those experiences and then to put them on your screen is really great. And then all the relationship stuff, I tell my wife all the time, like I feel like she's my first real relationship. We've been together for 10 years now, but prior to that, it was probably similar to Kyle, where it's like you just going through the motions, you dealing with stuff, getting caught up in stuff and trying to figure out how to deal with it. So, I could definitely relate to him as far as Albany Road, but I'm interested to see what other diagnoses you all have for these other characters.
Well, you mentioned being a gangster, so it's okay we go to my next one I would want as my client?
Yeah.
I'm super excited. Okay, so in They Clone Tyrone, you play Isaac.
Yeah, great film.
Yes, I love that film, and it came out in 2023. And so it was a lot of stuff going on at that time. It seems like y'all weren't able to do as much press for that film, but I saw that you had mentioned how important it was for you to be able to be in a film that was like a Black sci-fi. And so I just wanted to get a little bit more about your thoughts of just the Black sci-fi and how important that is to our community.
Yeah, well, and then I'm interested to see what you got to say about Isaac, because that's a brother. That brother was troubled, man. But he was dealing with a lot, man. He was dealing with a lot. Shout out to Joel Taylor, who wrote and directed They Clone Tyrone. Very dope brother from Alabama, man. Looked just like us, and he wrote that film for us, and so it came out during a tough time. It came out during the strike, and then it also came out during a time where Jamie was sick and going through his situation. So it was hard for us to really promote the film, but it turned into a cult classic. So many people watched that film. I know I watched it probably like 30 times. And it's one of those genres where you can literally watch it back to back if you wanted to. That's how good it is, and that's how funny it is, dramatic. And then the sci-fi element really drew me in. And then obviously, they needed somebody to come in and give you that natural kind of gangster that comes with that role. And it was fun, man. We was locked up in a hotel shooting that film because it was during the pandemic as well when we were shooting it. And so they bought a hotel, basically bought out all the rooms and put all the cast and crew and everybody in this hotel and was shooting it. So that was really fun. But, as far as the character, it gave me an opportunity to flex a muscle that people have seen me flex before, but I still try to make them different, right? Still try to bring some nuance to them, and without giving too much away for the film for people who haven't seen it. It's just, he just kind of has this itch to want to be in the mix, whether it's in the right way or the wrong way. Pretty, low key, but has a low tolerance. And then it seems like he kind of lets other people do his dirty work to a certain extent as you go further in the film. But that's one of those roles. I've been blessed to play like these, what I would say, stars or co-leads that are very balancing to the film. It's like without that one character, the film would balance in a different way. And so it's like you don't see me throughout the film the entire time, or you don't see me as much as the main characters. But when you see me, it's imperative to the story. And so I've been blessed to be able to do that, whether it's playing a gangster or playing a kind of a mess up, like, my boy in Self-Made. So John.
We gonna get that.
Yeah, we're gonna get to John too. But Isaac, yeah, he just has one of those things where he got some hood issues about him. And then, yeah, would you really want a murderer to be your client? Would you want somebody who done caught a couple bodies coming up in there talking to you? So I'm interested.
Yeah, especially if he don't tell me about them. They've already occurred, because then there's no duty to warn, because in the wonderful state of North Carolina, if someone is letting you know that they're going to go kill someone, you have a duty to warn to make sure that you are reporting that. And so I would be making sure that I am communicating that to Isaac, that, hey, look, now what you tell me, unless you tell me you want to harm yourself or someone else, everything else can stay confidential. So if these are things in the past have already happened, then we could work on that. I definitely would like to see Isaac for career counseling, because I did get him the Z code of Z56.6, other physical and mental strain related to work, because him being a gangster, it was really taking a toll on him. He couldn't even shave. He said, I can't get no me time. All he wanted was just take care of himself.
Funny thing about that. Funny thing about the I can't get no me time, right? So we shot that 2 years after we shot the first part of the film, right? Because pandemic, all this stuff, right? Strike, whatever. We ended up coming back doing some retakes, and I had a beard because I was playing Chris Paul on clip. And I was like, yo, I got a beard. I can't shave my beard. This scene y'all put in here, we got to come up with a creative way of doing it. And so I was like, what if I put on some shaving cream and, it looked like I'm about to shave or something? And so Netflix, they was like, yo, can you send us a video of you doing that? So I got some of my white shaving cream, put it on my face. My face was burning and shit as part of me. And then, pretend like I was shaving, and they liked it. And then when we got on set, I started doing this improv. And when I hung up the phone, I was like, man, I can't never get no me time. And it made the film, which was really dope. So it's like having an idea, not being afraid to present it, and it landed in the film. Just funny story about that. I can't.
You being a problem solver.
You gotta be. And it was just funny that Isaac would say something like that. Like, he gangster, but he classy. You know what I'm saying? He needed a little me time to himself. And like you said, he was stressed out.
Like Big Red from the 5 Heartbeats. He needed my office hours are from 9 to 5. He needed some boundaries with his goons, because they just was disrespected. Because he, like you said, he was classy. He really wanted to do well. He was even practicing his lines in the car. So you trying to tell me it's some Bill Nye the Science Guy? Okay, wait, hold on. So you trying to tell me it's some Bill Nye the Science Guy, motherfuckers underneath me right now? He wanted to make sure that he delivered his lines correctly. Right. And so I was also concerned, though, with him having those limited boundaries, him having to murder different people, him killing Fontana more than once, all of that there might be maybe some unspecified depressive disorder that I would like to further assess for. Like, are we dealing with some high functioning depression that maybe is going untreated with Isaac, with him being in his gangster role?
Well, see, now I have to stop you here.
Okay.
Because any other time, any other film, right? When it's the gangster, she'd be like, well, I'm just not going to give him a diagnosis because, it's just a part of his life. But what's the difference now?
Because he was trying, and he couldn't get no me time. But you see, when he was supposed to have been shaving, everybody else was already going about their day, and he was just now getting ready and shaving his face, which to me might signal hypersomnia. I'm just saying, the things are there. The things are there.
Side note, I just want y'all to understand that we really do be reading into these characters.
Oh yeah, we gonna wake up the story. If it's not in the film, we're gonna draw it out. We're gonna reach.
Ratchfoot.
But it is when you guys are working with individual clients, you can further assess. You can ask questions. You can say like, well, what time are you normally getting up in the morning? About what time does your day start? You can ask those questions. Where in the film, we don't necessarily have that. So we have to go off our context clues. And Fontaine had already been to the drugstore, got his beer and 2 cigarellos, and lost his scratch off by the time that Isaac was shaving his face. And so to me, Isaac not getting up on time. If the fiends is out there copping and you not up, and your minions, your goons is out there working.
His office hours are not typical office hours.
But that's why he
don't sleep, because sleep is the cousin of death.
See, but that's why he'd get up later. He had his guys out there working. He was trying to organize it, but there is a saying, if you're losing clientele, you got to work on your timing, right? You can't be late and you can't be up too late. But I really, this is great. I love hearing what you are.
And spoiler alert, we are definitely going to talk about P-Valley, but we're going to do that for our special episode because you're coming back, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we're going to make it happen. I think we'll make it an event.
Yes, I'm excited for that. And so you also mentioned John and Self-Made. And I just wanted to know, did you do any research about that little jig that you was doing? Was that what they was doing back in the 10s? Just be me dancing on your grave? Or was that just improv?
They showed us a couple of videos, and, you know, we had a great choreographer on set who was really cool. And they was just like, yo, this is a little jig or something that they would have been doing around that time. And we was able to see, you know, some pictures, which was really cool about that moment, but also just working with Tiffany Haddish. You gonna be silly and have a good time working with her. But yeah, we was up in Canada shooting that. Had a great time working on that piece. And John, man, nigga John, as I like to say, I know y'all might have to edit that part out, but he was a fool, just can't get right, burning stuff down. And for me, I don't know. John may have had ADHD or something, and he, you know, it ain't no telling. He couldn't focus. And so, you know, it led him to get into a lot of trouble. But I think he had a good heart. I think he was a good worker. And he wanted to please the people that were around him. So, you know, whatever that is that makes you want to do that. But he was a good guy. And I think, you know, Octavia's character, Madam C.J. Walker, you know, she just had a certain disdain for John because she kind of knew, like, boy, this boy just can't get it right. And, you know, there's some people in your life like that where it's like, man, time. Right. Right. But yeah, John was a klutz, but also, you know, he was, like I said, I like to believe in him. All my characters, I believe in them. Whether I agree with some of their choices, I try to believe in their cause, you know?
So I did have a question, and it's very irrelevant to the actual character, but maybe it is. So did you enjoy the cocaine cola?
Oh man, that wasn't nothing but water and food coloring. So it was just, you know, it wasn't nothing to it. But, but the dramaturg on that show did let us know that, you know, that wasn't a thing that was not too long before us, you know, and our grandparents and our parents, you know. I think it may have been, I forget when it stopped. I want to say like the early 60s maybe, or, you know, even 50s or something like that. They stopped doing that. But the vibe was that, you know, when they asked us, I asked them what would the hobby like. I've never done anything, you know. I do indulge in cannabis, but other than that, I wouldn't know. But they said, you know, he's like, well, have you ever had like a you know, it's like having a drink or like having like an edible. That's probably what it would have felt like. And so we kind of went with that vibe. And yeah, that was her way of getting that information up out of me. John couldn't hold water, man. She got him a little high. He probably wasn't even that high, barely feeling anything, and just running his mouth and spreading all the business.
Well, he couldn't stand her anyway. He's like, I can't stand that woman. He was ready
to let her go. Yeah.
So I do have a question, and this is not pertaining to necessarily the roles, but what do you want future clinicians? Because we do have some future clinicians in here, some doctoral students as well. What do you want future clinicians to understand about the emotional lives of Black men? And this could be just based off of your roles, but even you as an individual.
Well, that's a dope question. And then I think I could say that I don't know if people know that there are jobs and roles for therapists in TV and film, you know, where for us, you know, they whether it's you know, an intimacy coordinator. Those are people who come in to speak to you about your sexual experience on set and how they can help you coordinate that. So our choreography, those type of things, but also like the mental space that you have to be in to have those scenes. And then also just like, all right, you don't have to kill somebody on set today. Let's figure this out. Let's talk to you about what that experience was like. And there's a term that they use called de-rolling on Broadway. And so they have somebody who will come in and give you different tips and saying, all right, when you go into your dressing room, don't look in the mirror, take your costume off, you know, so look into those roles because those are new jobs that are out there. And if you have a certain degree, certain, certificate. Now you sitting here working with somebody just to make sure they're good, or here you are working next to Denzel Washington or Viola Davis or whoever and helping them get into a better mental space while they're on set. And so I think it's important. That was something that I really advocated for when I started working pretty heavy, specifically for P-Valley. It was like, hey, we should have intimacy coordinators on set. We need to have somebody kind of there for the mental space. And I think it's really important. And then in my life outside of TV and film, my wife and I, think therapy is very important and think that you have to make time for it. And as stubborn as I can be, right, I wouldn't sit here and say I was perfect. I used to have that mentality of like, man, I can figure this out on my own, or, what is a therapist going to tell me that I don't know already? And it's like, no, y'all sit here and said a whole bunch of stuff today that just went right, that I didn't, that just went over all these different terms and all these things. And so it's that you all went to school for these things. You all go to the best programs. I'm sure A&T is amazing. And so I think, young and, vets have to take it serious and understand that people need y'all. People need you in a real way. We need you in a space to where it's like, help us get to that next level of understanding our mental capacity and what's there. So I think it's really important. And, for me, what I always look for in a therapist is like just honesty and transparency, attentiveness. You want somebody who's going to be paying attention to you, not kind of distracted, not using you just to meet a quota to a certain extent. And so you want to feel like somebody really cares about you and care about the work and is giving you good advice. And so that's why I think it's important. And that's what the advice I would give, to young, clinicians. Just keep going after it and just be genuine with your clients and respectful. And I like, the rule that if somebody go hurt themselves or hurt somebody else, you got to say something, like all those type of things. It makes sense. Y'all not just out here letting people do nothing crazy. So that's love.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And so, we can move on from John because he already named
that's it.
ADHD, which was my diagnosis as well, inattentive type. At first was going to go mild, but then when he blew up the basement, it became moderate.
Blow nothing up.
It became moderate. Okay. And then, so I just also wanted to get into very quickly what he just mentioned, having to report things and the importance of further assessing things, especially when it comes to homicidal ideation, suicidal ideation, things of that nature. And so in White Men Can't Jump, the remake that came out is 2023, he said, yeah, bitch, flamethrower. So I would be concerned that you were just so okay with someone using a flamethrower because you were losing a game of basketball. Like, we would have to further assess homicidal ideations, whether that is something that you normally respond to anger in that way.
Yeah.
Because you said it like you really meant it. Like,
that's another one of them roles where it's like they just need that kind of character, that antagonist, that gangster character who's going to kind of weave in. If you've seen the original one, I like to compare myself to the dude who would say, I'm
gonna go get my gun, shoot everybody out here.
Shoot everybody. Yeah, that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because that was who I felt like I was portraying in that scene. But obviously, Disney and Hulu was like, nah, we're gonna make it a flamethrower. I'm like, all right, Disney, come on, let's see what y'all got with it. But in his mind, yeah, that's like an everyday thing, And crazy thing is, there's people out here with flamethrowers. There's people in the hood with flamethrowers, believe it or not. Okay, so it's just like,
I saw in the news the situation in Colorado with the individual with the flamethrower.
Wow, that's crazy. So somebody really out here having it is insane. Obviously, they need a different level of help, right? This brother may need to be sent somewhere else and really sit down for a little bit and talk to. So I don't even know how you assess somebody like that. I don't know what it is that you give them to make them understand. You can't just pull a flamethrower out and burn up the whole park. But, at least they just scared people off. They didn't burn nobody.
The potential property damage.
Potential property damage. You could have burnt the whole park down, man. You could not only kill somebody, right? That's the worst part. But now you done burnt the playground down. The kids just trying to play, And then when we see you later, he at the park. And for those who ain't seen the movie, I ain't gonna give it away, but y'all know what happened to him. He ended up not in the best situation. And so karma is real. That's obviously one thing that's gonna get you right. But yeah, I don't know what's that boy name? I sometimes forget my characters' names. What's that boy name?
Did we have a name?
He got a name. Jermaine. Jermaine was his name.
Jermaine.
If you say it, then that's what it was, sir.
Yeah. Jermaine was his name. I don't even know if we hear his name in the film, but I believe that was his name in the on the script.
Yes.
Would you become anti-person?
So no, I would be concerned about intermittent explosive disorder or distillation disorder. I would be bouncing between one of those just because of his response not meeting the being out of proportion to the situation at hand.
The only reason why I didn't rule those in and I ruled them out because in my experience, especially working with young people, you see that more diagnosed in younger. Mm-hmm. And then usually it goes into antisocial personality disorder because the behaviors get to a point where it's just like, it's ingrained. Like, this is not going to change anymore. But yes, intermittent explosive disorder, I definitely.
Guilty because I love my thugs. I didn't want to go for a personality disorder.
See what I'm talking about? She picks and chooses when she wants to do.
And this is why you need supervision. You need to consult.
Definitely had a little, but he was a smooth. Once again, like I guess that's a thing that not all my characters, have, but most of them. There's a calmness that kind of comes before the explosion, right? And that guy, he had just a lot of stuff in him that I agree. I think he definitely had some type of disorder where, he need to count to 10, for lack of better words, before he do something. But I took in my own personal life, I took impulsive therapy to where it's just like, you work on your impulses and like, okay, what's making me angry right now? Why is this making me angry? How can I control that, right? And it's different than anger management, right? I think that's another level of it. But I think it's also just like, okay, why am I thinking this right now? What's going to make me say that? Am I think so? Jermaine could use a little bit of impulse control therapy.
I have a question. Okay, so we're talking about Jermaine, and we've kind of gone in between like actual characters like that are for a particular role, but then also like real life characters. So I was interested in knowing like what challenges came with portraying some of those real people, especially I'm going to jump ahead to Clipped.
Before we get into that, just want to note that we are not diagnosing his character as Chris Paul because that is an actual individual. And it is, if you check with your ethical codes, it is unethical for you to diagnose someone who is a real person that you have not examined yourself, even if those individuals are public figures. So those are things that you want to keep in mind. Us doing this show, we don't do a lot of biopics either, just because it's unethical for us to diagnose real people whom we are not seeing. And so, yes, I would love to hear more about your portrayal of that character, being a North Carolina man, playing a North Carolina hometown hero as well. All of that, we just won't be diagnosing.
Yes, so we just want to know what challenges, if any.
No, that's great. And you learn something new every day. I'm glad people are out here not diagnosing people they don't know. Don't got no right of doing that. People are not, not only should doctors follow that, but real life people. Like, stop judging people. You ain't even talked to them. You ain't sat down with them, none of that. You just judging a book from its cover. But what I will say is playing Chris Paul, was just a wonderful experience, especially being from North Carolina, 336, Winston-Salem. I'm from Greensboro, but he grew up outside of Wake Forest. And it was just one of those things where I didn't really want to try to be exactly who Chris Paul was during that time. I just wanted to embody who he was. I feel like it's hard to be exactly who somebody is, but it's also one of those things where you want to try to, make sure that you give people what the character is calling for. So his walk, his cadence, all those things I tried to get down. And then I do know from watching him that there's a sense of leadership, passion. I won't say anger. I just think it's a lot of passion that comes with Chris Paul. But we go bring this back for definitely for a part 2 for P-Valley. Can't wait for y'all to see season 3. Can't wait for y'all to diagnose Big Murder, LaMarcus, aka Lil Murder, as I like to call him. But this was great. This was fun, talking about all these characters and understanding their mindset a little bit more. Thank you all for the newfound intellect on these conversations and the big words that I haven't been able to still understand yet. I will understand them at some point. But the technical terms for their diagnosis, thank y'all for breaking them down. I really appreciate it. This was fun, and I really look forward to hopefully making this happen in person at some point. So yeah, y'all keep me posted. Sorry that I gotta run. I wish I could stay a little bit longer, but hopefully we can make this happen in person in Greensboro. Shout out to A&T. My pops went to A&T. My sister went to A&T. I went to Central. I know, don't boo me off the stage, but yeah, I went to Central, and then but I grew up around A&T. Homecomings all throughout the 90s and the 2000s, all the things. So A&T has a special place in my heart. Shout out to everybody in the room that came out tonight. I appreciate y'all. Much love. And yeah, till next time.